got up at 5 AM. I was supposed to catch a train at 6 o'clock this morning. Decided I'd chill out and take a really slow walk. Ended up missing the train I was planning to catch. And I just spent 2 hours at the train station, checking my emails, catching up on office work, and I guess today this is my office. At least the sun's shining.
For the 0823 Virgin train, service to London Euston.
That was a super busy train, and I'm now in Preston Station and headed towards Leeds. And I think the train goes to York after that. So I've got to wait a little while, and 9:30, hopefully we'll be off again. Today I'm off to Wakefield in Yorkshire. I'm doing a talk at school there to about 13, 16-year-old females. I still get really nervous doing the talk. Yeah, I get a little bit anxious practicing my talk in my head. So it's quite good having a long journey in some ways. Hopefully I won't be too nervous by the time I arrive.
The next train to provide platform 2, 909 and Transfer 9 Express to Manchester Airport.
Just arrived in Wakefield. Never been here before, so it's going to be a little bit interesting finding my way around. But good practice navigating at sea. I just received an email from the museum here in Wakefield, so they have the longest Viking longship in Britain. So we're going to go and see that now. Well, before I head to the school to give my talk, I popped into the museum here in Wakefield. It's free of charge, and a lovely lady called Maya just gave me a tour of the museum. It's an amazing place, there's some really cool stuff. So I'll give you a quick tour now before I head off to the school for my talk. So this is one of the exhibitions at the moment, showing some of the posters calling men to join the armed forces from World War I and World War II. Really beautiful pictures in terms of art, but a little bit daunting to think how many people probably lost their lives by following the call of duty. I had no idea about Wakefield's connection with rhubarb, and apparently they used to export 200 tonnes of rhubarb, forced rhubarb, to London on the train. This is quite a cool exhibit. You can actually hear rhubarb growing, which I never expected. Well, they say Britain has mad, eccentric people, not just ocean rowers, but Wakefield apparently had a chap called Waterton, renowned for travelling and collecting different species, bringing them back and preserving them. See different ones here. Some of the birds he brought back. Monkey. This is a narwhal's, I think you call it a horn. He also caught this caiman. And there's a little story about him here capturing it in this picture. So he dragged it out of the jungle alive while in South America. So he caught this caiman in 1820 and then rode it back captured it, killed it, and stuffed it. And this is a boa constrictor that apparently he punched on the nose. Very, very eccentric. But was kind of the thing that was done in I think it was the Victorian era. And obviously we wouldn't do that today in terms of conservation, but then was quite usual. There's a video about him with David Attenborough here, who actually opened this exhibit. And I think Charles Waterton went on in his life to not only to collect species, but then started, he was one of the very first people to start conservation efforts to preserve them. But before that he did some rather strange things. This was, I think, a customs guy that he didn't like, so he decided to use a monkey's bottom and turn it into this kind of creature. I don't know the stories behind all of them, but he created these out of different creatures to tell different stories. And every local community has its characters. This really made me smile. It's about, there's a t-shirt here, it says snooker for women, and it was the t-shirt worn by this lady, Sheila Capstick. She was a campaigner, feminist and snooker player, and in 1978 women didn't have the rights, equal rights to go to working men's clubs, and she decided that women should be allowed to play snooker as well in these clubs. So she campaigned in favour of equal membership, which I think is a really cool thing. And just goes to show that, you know, one person can make a big difference. This is her t-shirt here. I found this really interesting as well. This is an exhibit about kind of mental health in Wakefield, especially for men returning back from the war and the trauma they'd suffered and the mental health problems they had. You can see some of the treatments here that were used for trying to treat them. So this is like electrotherapy here, different inhalers, medicines, patient's boot, athletics cricket section. This is a restraint shirt, and obviously some of the kind of medications that we have today. And this section is all about World War I and II as well. So we've got plums bottled on the first day of the Great War, 1914 to 1918 here, and just kind of random objects that would be around the home connected with the war. This here I've just found is an Anglo-Saxon cross shaft. I just heard that apparently it was found as a butcher's doorstep, so kind of modern recycling, but it was around 1,000 years ago when the Vikings were kind of around as well. There we go, that's what it would have looked like. I was just asking about some of the flints here, and this lovely lady is going to tell me about them because she knows a lot more than me.
Well, the axe head at the back there is the Langdale axe, and that was found on Avondale Street.
Yeah.
And it takes about 2 weeks to walk to the mine in Cumbria where the stone actually comes from.
Oh wow, because I've come from Cumbria, so yeah, I know Langdale.
So it's
a long way.
So it's come from Langdale, and
Yeah.
it takes hours and hours and hours of shaping and rubbing to get the axe into that shape and that finely polished as well. And it was found locally on Avondale Street, which is not too far away from the River Calder.
Ah,
So,
that's interesting.
and then all of these microliths and the flints.
Yeah.
Again, these were all found by Pugneys, again by the River Calder, because
Yeah.
they tended to travel up the riverways,
Okay.
the earliest settlers. So you're looking from the earliest one of the Paleolithic axe head, which
Yeah.
is about 9,000 BC, right through to the Neolithic, which is about 4,000 BC.
That's very old.
Very, very old.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And I love these as well. That you can touch them.
I love the ripple effect
Yeah.
shapes when they actually nap the flint away, and it leaves these ripples, and you get the children coming in and just feeling the shapes and round on the edges there.
And somebody made that,
Yeah.
you know, all that time ago.
Yeah.
Wow, this one's really soft.
So, and not quite as well finished, so you can see the difference here in the grain of the stone isn't quite as fine as it is on the one that's
Yeah.
in the cabinet.
And then what's this one here?
These are the Bronze Age axes. This is a slightly later one than some of the earlier ones that we have up in the display, and you can
Yeah.
tell the difference in the technology that's been used to make the axes, because clearly you've got these cast ones that are more
They look
complex.
really different,
Yeah. More complicated to
Yeah.
cast and make than the flat rooms at
Yeah.
the back.
Those are so shiny as well.
That's down to our conservator Mary looking
Aha.
after them really well for us.
It's brilliant. About to come and see them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, well, I'm whispering because I've just come into the library, and in the library here in Wakefield, if you just pop in, you can see this logboat, which was around at the Viking times. So this is 1,000 years old and was found in the mud, and then moved to York, to the Yorkshire Viking Centre. And then the curator, I believe, happened to be visiting, saw it, realised it came from here, and now it's on loan, and you can see it here. It's just totally amazing. It's like 1,000 years old. It's called the Stanley Ferry Logboat, and it's Britain's only known Anglo-Scandinavian boat from the age of the Vikings. There we go. That was found in the canal in 1838, which I think is super cool. I had no idea it was here. And I'm rushing now because I need to go to the post office and then off to the school to do my talk. So if you come to Wakefield, definitely pop in. It's well worth a visit. And there's this awesome artwork on the floor as well, so you can see where I am. So this is in Viking times. Here we are, here's Britain, here's Wakefield, here's York, and this is Danelaw. So all of this was Viking territory. And up here you got Cumbria, where I've come from today. So I've come all the way down, across, and then up to Wakefield. And then if we go over here, so I'm going to be rowing all around Britain, all the way along. And if you come over here, you can find out more about the local area. So York, centre of the most successful Viking kingdom. For trading here. This is the Roman road from York to the south. So it's a very good area for not so much settlements, but kind of just stopping off trading. And here we've got Stanley Ferry, and this is Wakefield. And the Vikings got here basically by the river. So here's the coast, the North Sea, and they would have come all the way up here along the River Humber and travelled along the river. And you've got Leeds here as well. So I could stay here all day, but I need to move on. But do come visit, it's well worth it. So there we go. You've got London down here as well. Just finished my talk. I think it went okay. The students were really nice, and it was funny. So now for the mammoth trek to Kendal.